ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this discussion with a couple of our technical judges and mentors from the Food Tech Challenge. The Food Tech Challenge was launched in September 2019 under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE, ruler of Dubai. The Food Tech Challenge is a joint initiative by the UAE Food and Water Security Office and Tamkeen. The Food Tech Challenge was created to seek innovative global solutions from across the food value chain, and it supports the UAE's commitment to providing its population with sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. The judges and mentors we have with us today have been involved in filtering down more than 400 global submissions and selecting the 12 finalists who will be pitching for their share of a $1 million prize. We're really excited today to be speaking to Umar Al-Jindi and Dr. Merle Jensen, who have kindly agreed to talk to us about the future of food. Umar is the chief executive at Badia Farms, who have developed the GCC's first commercial vertical indoor farm, and Dr. Merle, who is a professor emeritus at the University of Arizona. Both Umar and Dr. Merle have been involved in the competition in varying capacities, ranging from evaluating the competition submissions all the way to mentoring the teams in preparation for their final round of pitches. So the aim of this session is to encourage conversation. So whilst I might be asking each of you specific questions, please feel free to contribute with your thoughts and insights during the conversation. So we're going to get right into it. And I want to start by having a discussion on our consumption habits and how this impacts production, as these are both essential topics in the food security space. So Dr. Merle, maybe starting with you, what are your thoughts on this subject?
Well, I think from my time in Abu Dhabi starting many 50 years ago, I think the whole bottom line in food production has to deal with water. And the thing is that about 90% of the water in Abu Dhabi is very brackish. And as a result, we desalt. In fact, there are 33 large desalting plants throughout the United Arab Emirates. So what do we grow? Do we grow along the coastline, which is very humid most of the year? And in the summertime, it's just very difficult to grow any kind of cropping outside. To grow a lot of the crops, you would probably in the summertime go to Al Ain, which is inland, of course, and it has a much lower humidity. And I think that you have a choice. You got the vertical farms, and then when you got open field, you have greenhouses, and then you have vertical farms that are inside where they're climate controlled. So the whole thing, again, revolves around water and the use of water.
So Dr. Merle, you mentioned that a lot of our consumption habits are tied to water consumption, and that obviously impacts the production of agriculture. Umar, what are your thoughts on this subject?
Well, the advancements of, technology and plant science has given a solution where we could really take advantage of the little water that we have to produce a sufficient amount of fruits and vegetables through these new, I would call them modern farming models. Yes, water is very scarce in our region, and we have to make sure we use every single drop. So these advancements has given us a solution, not only to take advantage of the little water that we have, but again, to overcome, the harsh environment, the climate, the lack of fertile soil, to be able to become, a farming country.
And just to elaborate further on that subject, Umar, you mentioned modern farming models. So what are some of the new trends that you foresee having a big impact in this sector over the next few years?
Technology is going to continue leading the way. There's a lot of automation, a lot of robotics coming in the farming industry. So the whole process, for example, from sowing the seeds, to growing it, harvesting it, and even packing it, the whole process now is becoming fully autonomous. Also, robotics are going to be coming in to harvest, tomatoes, to harvest strawberries. In addition, we've got sensors. For example, the sensors have advanced so much. So other than the classical sensors that measure the humidity, the temperature, the carbon dioxide in the air, we're able now to measure the stress level of the plant, their nutritional intake. And by having a wider range of sensors deployed in the farm, we're able to collect so much data that we could later on provide to artificial intelligence and machine learning, where it would give us insights on the farm and how to enhance the yield, how to produce a better plant, improve the quality, and down the line computers will be managing and running these facilities. In addition, you've got breeding, gene editing, all of this now. There's a lot of money going into it to produce for us and provide us with the seeds that are catered to vertical farms and indoor farms.
Wow, an exciting future if that's how we anticipated looking. Dr. Merle, we had a conversation earlier where you mentioned that you're no stranger to this country. The first time you had visited the UAE was about 52 years ago, and you're very well aware that the Gulf has a climate and a landscape that makes certain type of agriculture quite challenging. Are there any particular areas where you believe we should focus our efforts so that we can maximize local production?
Okay, a lot of the production of vegetable crops, of course, has been done in Ras Al Khaimah in Fujairah, and production there has come over to Abu Dhabi. In those days when I was there, the quality was not good because of the transportation systems, but that has changed a great deal. I think that if one goes into greenhouses, and I'll get to vertical farms in just a moment, greenhouses, they have to be cool, of course. And in the crops growing in greenhouses, you got the water going to the crops, the irrigation water. But at the same time, if you're using evaporative cooling, the water used for evaporative cooling can be almost more than that water given to the plants. A great deal of water is used. Now, evaporative cooling will not work very well. We'll get a few degrees drop on the coastlines along the Gulf, but going inland where the humidity is less, you get more usage of that. I agree with Omar that vertical farming is going to be a thing. I worked for a very big company in San Francisco, and of course, the big thing there is the cost. The cost, we believe, can be substantiated by going to robots, mechanization, low labor cost. I think that that's something that's very important. So I see the future, the farming outside, whether it be Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, or Al Ain, is going to be very seasonal. Greenhouses will allow one to grow year-round if you're going inland. And then the vertical farm thing. There's a lot of interest in that in the United States. Again, for us, it's economics, but I think we can get around that if we go to mechanization and robotics.
Wonderful. And I have a final question for both Omar and Dr. Merle. What role do you think that competitions like the Food Tech Challenge can play in raising awareness of issues around food production and consumption, and to be able to successfully address these problems?
Well, I think that awareness is very, very important. And I think that we really need to up the education of young people to manage these systems. I don't see a lot of that. I visited the College of Agriculture in Al Ain when I was there. And I found some very bright females that I think will be fantastic in this area of work of horticulture. You know, females are very caring people, and I think that that's the kind of input we need. But we're going to have to do a lot on education, local people, getting them a lot of our work. And I don't have anything against expatriates, but we got to pay more attention to food security with the people within the country.
And Omar, any thoughts on how we can raise awareness around food consumption and food production?
Yes, I mean, I just want to say, this type of competition is very important because other than increasing awareness, but it brings in all the stakeholders, whether they are farmers, technology providers, policymakers, the country's leadership on one table where we could really address all the issues that require our attention. In addition, it helps evolve and develop and this whole industry. So again, these type of competitions are very important to bring in all these stakeholders in under one roof and to support the industry.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Merle and Omar, for your time. It was indeed a privilege to have both of you speaking to us during this very important and very stimulating conversation. And on behalf of the Food Tech Challenge, again, we'd like to thank you for your mentorship and for your judging of the Food Tech Challenge this year. And for our viewers at home, I hope that this session has whet your appetite for what's to come. And for more information on tomorrow's event, the awards ceremony, do visit www.foodtechchallenge.com, and we look forward to seeing you all there. We're really excited today to be speaking to His Excellency Rashid Al-Shregi, Dr. Dino Francescuti, and Dr. Thaer Yassin, who have kindly agreed to talk to us about how government and the private sector can collaborate to encourage innovation in food security. His Excellency Rashid Al-Shregi is a senior advisor for agriculture at Al Zahra Agricultural Company, a leading agribusiness firm. And Dr. Dino and Dr. Thaer both work at the Food and Agriculture Organization. Dr. Dino is the coordinator of the FAO sub-regional office, and Dr. Thaer is an agricultural officer for the FAO Near East office. Our guests have been involved in the competition in varying capacities, ranging from evaluating the competition submissions to mentoring the teams in preparation for their final round of pitches. The aim of this session is to encourage a conversation, so while I might be asking each of you individual questions, please feel free to share your thoughts and insights during this conversation. So we're going to get right into this. And for the UAE and other countries to succeed in increasing the amount of domestic production, it is crucial to have a positive collaboration between governments and the private sector. So the first question that we have is for His Excellency. Sir, you have vast experience in both government and the private sector. What do you think is the best way for the two to collaborate, and how can existing partnerships be strengthened?
First of all, thank you very much for having me with this very important session. I think collaboration between government and private sector is very, very important everywhere, not only in the United Arab Emirates, because government in this regard representing the general umbrella which guide and control all activity across the country. So in the case of United Arab Emirates, as you know, we have a very strong leadership, and we consider food security is a very essential and important part of the national security. Innovation also plays a very important roles in this regard. Why innovation? Because government, by putting and strengthen rules, regulations, laws, can encourage the private sector to be more innovative and to invest in innovation. And by the end of the day, this will reflect the efforts to tackle the very important aim here to strengthen the food security program. Government also, the membership of the government in international organizations like WIPO is very important roles here. Why? Because it is protect innovation. And this is very, very important for the private sector to protect their rights when they spend money, do efforts. And this type of collaboration will strengthen the whole story and brings things together under the leadership of the government, so we can tackle our goals very, very easily. The idea of this food security challenge, I think itself, it is an innovative idea. Why? Because by launching such competition on a global level, United Arab Emirates is taking a lead role in this regard, and can collect different ideas, different ways and means to enhance the investment and the business in food security challenge.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your insights and your thoughts. Dr. Dino, as a coordinator of the regional FAO office, you must have considerable experience liaising between government and private sector entities. Do you believe that such efforts are already underway? And if you take a step back, how important is it to coordinate such efforts across multiple countries?
Thank you very much. First of all, because of the invitation for us to participate, and responding to your question, we do believe that efforts are well underway. The path is long. We have started it. There is a good way forward still. And we can witness as part of FAO that the UAE has made very significant progress on this. We can clearly see that the UAE stands out in these sort of efforts to bring together government and the private sector. I can only harvest some of the ideas of His Excellency Rashid with respect to how important it is to create the incentives for innovation. Working all together toward the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals is a good pathway to follow. Coordinating between the private sector and governments with that target, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, but in particular, the Sustainable Development Goal 1 and 2, which have to do with reducing poverty and improving food security, are crucial for FAO. So with that target, I think we are well underway with a clear objective, creating the incentives for innovation and technology evolution. And I would also add the importance of facilitating, creating the enabling environment for the private sector to do what they are good at in developing this technology and put the technology in practice, in operation, to scale it up. This means creating the environment. It means creating the financial instruments, especially for young entrepreneurs, for small to medium scale enterprises. These are essential elements for them. And let me add one last point, the possibility of sharing knowledge, data, and information, creating the platforms whereby young entrepreneurs can have access to this. And in addition to information, also service provision. Many of these new businesses would require provision of services for them to develop and produce with their small and medium scale businesses. Let me end by underlining how important is the Food Tech Challenge. It is remarkable. I think this is a good example for not only for the countries in this sub-region or in the region, but worldwide.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dino, for your insights and your thoughts on this subject. I'd like to now pose a question to Dr. Thaer. As an agriculture officer at the FAO, do you believe that agriculture companies and the private sector have taken full advantage of the incentives that governments are providing to promote innovation in food production? And if not, then what more can be done?
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you in this interview, and thank you for having me and my colleague Francesco, Dino Francescotti, and His Excellency, Mr. Rashid. Actually, yes, the answer I can see yes. Incentives are very helpful for the private sector and the companies in the United Arab Emirates, but we may add more that those incentives are helpful when they are tailored very well in covering the gaps. We still have some gaps, I would like to say, in covering to be covered in the future action. That means this is the first step for 100 mile step, 1,000 mile step. The food security is still need to be supported. I would say we may start by analyzing the gaps inside the value chain in United Arab Emirates, being a country which a lot of products have been imported. So we may focus our attention on the cold chain maintenance using the innovative technology. We make last week, I have been invited by the colleague in United Arab Emirates to make a talk about what are the main innovative technologies, like we mentioned the passive refrigeration technology, which is a new innovative method which will be able to save more than 81% of the energy used in conservation of the food, and saving more than 50% of the product which we lose inside our fridge or inside the process of post-harvest. So more tailored solution need to be focused on to cover the food security and taking care about the environment, which really need to be more considered. A lot of action is doing in United Arab Emirates now for alternative and green energy, and this is, I believe, will be one of those actions for the marketing and pushing to the digital solution, like even digital market and digital the food supply chain, which already in. As you know, our region, not only, I'm working on all the region, is most of the country have water scarcity and we have few resources. So the key words, in my opinion, still be the efficacy of the water resources. Water resources and all natural resources we have them, but they are not limited, and when they will be finished. And this is why we will find a green, sustainable solution in this food chain to have the sustainability. And as Mr. Dino mentioned, SDGs, and we can consider them, and they will be our target to go through in this value chain support in order to be able to reach the target, saving the food and saving it from the farmer to the final user with a shorter chain and the better quality food. Because now we know that the high value chain, we call it perishable food, is difficult to be saved in high quality. And our tricky things is to find the gaps during this chain where we need to maintain this food with high quality and to deliver it to the final user with high value of nutrition value. And this will be an important point to take in consideration to feed the people in better quality and have a better life. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was once again a fascinating and stimulating conversation with our mentors and judges at this year's Food Tech Challenge. And on behalf of the challenge, I would like to thank you for taking the time to participate in this competition and your involvement in judging and mentoring this year. And for our viewers back home, we thank you again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you at tomorrow's event at the awarding ceremony, where we're going to see which of the 12 finalists will be implementing their food tech solutions in the UAE. And if you haven't registered for the event yet, go over to www.foodtechchallenge.com, and we look forward to seeing you there.